Oh my God. Thank you.
Testing. Check. Heather.
I just want to be a Democrat. I want to be a dictator for a couple of days. Oh, that's one thing
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending tonight's Washington County Board of Commissioners evening meeting. It's awesome to see this many people here. This is truly democracy at its best. You've asked, we've delivered. This is amazing to have this many people here. I'm truly excited. So without further ado, we'd like to open up our meeting. The first thing we do is we start with a prayer. Tonight's prayer is Pastor Rob Grew from the First Lutheran Church. Pastor Grew.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the freedom we are given in these United States of America, where we can praise and pray to you at the opening of this meeting. Hear our prayers as we offer them up to you, O God. We pray for all the peace officers, EMTs, firefighters, deputies, our own Sheriff Tony and all his men and women, and the support services that are also called to help those in crisis, to be kept safe by your holy angels and keep them all from harm. We pray for the men and women of our armed forces in the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard, that those serving both far and near, that they may know your grace and mercy. Keep them safe, and we are thankful for the freedom we are given to live in this blessed land, and we pray for peace in the Ukraine. We pray for our county commissioners here and all the support staff that work diligently to make our county safe and productive in the call to serve you and the good people of Washington County. We pray for all the work that they do and the decisions that made will glorify you. We pray for the Holy Spirit that will guide them, lead them, and protect them in the call to serve the community. We pray for the support of their families as they work day and night. They are kept away from their families to the call of the community. We also pray for the people of the Washington County, and that they continue to know your love for us, and that they may be people that work together as one to glory of your holy name, Jesus Christ, in whom we trust and pray. Amen.
Amen.
Dave Thompson here? Dave Thompson. Maybe you're here one last time. Okay, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please join me in the pledge. Flag is to your right. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion to approve minutes number 1183 dated April 4, 2024.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes. This time of the meeting that we come to our special order of business. We have two proclamations this evening. The first one will be read by Washington County Commissioner Larry Maggi on Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Commissioner Maggi.
Thank you. Whereas sexual harassment, abuse, and assault are widespread problems in the United States alone. Nearly 1 in 5 women and 1 in 67 men have been raped at some time in their lives. And 1 of 4 girls and 1 in 20 boys is sexually abused by the age 17. And whereas sexual harassment, assault, and abuse happens in all communities, including online spaces, the theme of this year's Sexual Assault Awareness Month campaign is Building Connected Communities. And whereas community is powerful because it creates a sense of belonging and reminds us of how our choices and actions affect one another. And whereas the campaign calls on all individuals, communities, organizations, and institutions to ensure communities are safe, inclusive, and equitable, and each of us has the power to enact change and make a difference. And whereas it is time for all of us to take responsibility in creating spaces built on the foundational values of consent, safety, belief, in support of survivors. And whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, we can be successful in preventing sexual violence and through increased education, awareness, and public involvement. The SPHS Care Center STARS program strongly supports the efforts of national, state, and local partners and of every citizen to actively engage in efforts to prevent sexual violence. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Washington County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month and join these organizations and government and communities in their quest to prevent sexual assault, harassment, and abuse. For more information on sexual violence services in Washington County, please call the Care Center or STARS program at 1-888-480-7283 or visit www.stars.sphs.org. Mr. Chairman, I move for adopted this 18th day of April, 2024 in Washington, Pennsylvania.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes. Accepting this proclamation is Joanne Dragon and Supervisor at SPH Care and Katie Figs.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna Dragan with the SPHS Care Center STARS program. This is Katie Figs, our new volunteer coordinator. And I would just like to take a minute to thank the Board of Commissioners and Washington County for recognizing Sexual Assault Awareness Month again this year. We have a very dedicated staff at the STARS program that serves hundreds of victims and families in Washington and Greene counties. And it really does take a lot of dedication. And we would ask that the community as well be supportive of victims if you know them and make sure that they are seen, heard, and believed. Here in Washington County, we have a really great team that works with victims from county offices like Children and Youth Services to the district attorney's office, to law enforcement, to other providers that make sure everybody's needs are being met. And that is very rare. So we're very pleased to work here in Washington County. And I just wanted to repeat our hotline number in case anybody would need it. And that is 1-888-480-7283. And people can also reach out at our website, which is stars.sphs.org. Thank you.
For our next special order of business, Washington County Commissioner-elect Janice will read a Child Prevention Awareness Month.
Proclamation, whereas children are our nation's most vulnerable members, as well as our nation's most vulnerable resources, helping to shape the future of Washington County. And whereas positive childhood experiences such as loving caregivers and safe, stable, and nurturing relationships can help mitigate trauma and the negative impact of adverse child experiences to promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. And whereas childhood trauma can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects throughout an individual's lifetime and impact future generations. And whereas children who live in families with access to concrete economic and social supports are less likely to experience abuse and neglect. And whereas prevention is possible because of partnerships created between families, advocates, child welfare professionals, education, health, community, faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and local, state, and national governments. And whereas we acknowledge that in order to solve the public health issue of abuse and neglect, we must work together to change the hearts and the mindset through storytelling and sharing, centering the needs of families, breaking down biases and barriers, and inspiring action from expected and unexpected partners in prevention. And whereas we are committed to advancing equitable, responsive, and effective systems that ensure all children and families are healthy and thriving. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Washington County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Washington County and call upon all citizens to make children a top priority, take action to support the well-being of all children, as well as providing parents with the support they need to nurture and care for their children to ensure a bright future for all. And Mr. Chairman, I so move this to be adopted on the 18th of April 2024 in Washington, Pennsylvania.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Magic?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes. Accepting this proclamation is Adam Gary. Adam's going to say a few words, but before we do, thank you for the help that you had. We had floods down in Canton Township, and we had several mothers that were stranded, and their cars were washed away, and they had no car seats and no ability to move their children. And you were quick to act getting those car seats down there. So I really appreciate your help this weekend with those flood victims.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioners. Today I stand before you recognizing the staff of Washington County Children and Youth Services. Our dedicated team wishes to make you aware of the pervasive and heartbreaking issue of child abuse. It's a topic that can be difficult to discuss, but it's one that demands our attention, empathy, and our action. Child abuse takes many forms. It could be physical, emotional, sexual, or neglect, and it knows no bounds. It happens in all communities regardless of race, religion, or socioeconomic status. In fact, Washington County Children and Youth Services just in 2023 received 5,559 referrals alleging child abuse or neglect. But today, we gather as a community united in our commitment to prevent child abuse and protect our most vulnerable members, our children. Prevention is key. It starts with each and every one of us. It starts with being vigilant and observant in recognizing signs of abuse and not turning a blind eye when you suspect something could be wrong. It starts with creating safe spaces where children feel empowered to speak up and seek help when they need it. But prevention also means addressing the root causes of abuse, the trauma, the stress, the lack of support and resources that can contribute to these abusive situations. It means investing in programs and services to support families, strengthen communities, and provide the resources and support needed to break the cycle of abuse. As a community, we have a responsibility to come together and protect our children and ensure that every child grows up in a safe, loving, nurturing environment. It's not an easy task, but it's a task worth fighting for because every child deserves to feel safe, loved, and valued. Our devoted team has pledged to be advocates for change and speak out against abuse, to support one another in our efforts. However, we cannot do this work alone. We also call on you, the community, to take the pledge for a brighter, safer future for our children. In conclusion, I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for your ongoing support to the children, youth, and families of Washington County. Thank you.
At this time, we would normally recess for pictures. However, the two awardees that we gave proclamations to our county employees so we know where to find them. In the interest of time and a fire hazard with this many people here today, we're going to forgo the formality of the pictures. I promise we'll get one with you guys. So I appreciate you being here. So we're going to move on to the next part of the agenda, which is agenda comments. There's a bunch of people that are signed up to speak here this evening. All of you are signed up for public comment. The way the Board of Commissioners now operates, if you show up specifically to talk about something that we're voting on this evening, if you were to show up to talk about whatever this topic would be, you would speak now. Everyone else is signed up for public comment. There is no vote on the vast majority showing up for ballot curing this evening. So all you will do your public comment when we get to that portion of the meeting. So before you see me go forward and you all start to go into an upward, know that you will be in the next part 8, which is the public comment. At that, we're going to go into old business with the solicitor. Thank you. There is no public comments.
Under old business, Commissioners, number 8, bid award. Purchasing respectfully requests the Commissioners award the bid for the Joint Municipal Purchasing Program, summer of 2024, to the listed vendors based on their delivered per unit costs as submitted in the bid proposal, and to authorize the rebidding on all items not bid for various municipalities. The vendors are Heidelberg Materials Northeast LLC and Youngblood Paving of Wampum, PA. All items have been awarded to the lowest, most responsive and responsible bid received. If approved, municipalities are free to enter into any agreement on items bid by the above awarded vendors. This contract will be effective April 1, 2024 through March 31, 2025. All bid responses were reviewed and recommended for award by the Planning and Purchasing Departments for the county.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes. Thank you, Solicitor. We're going on to new business now. Chief Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, just one moment. I was not aware we were doing public comment at the end.
That's how we've done for the last couple of meetings. We just never had public comment versus the other one. But
I mean, we've always had public comment after recess. This is the first one, and
there's no agenda comments, so now we're going to public.
okay, this is, just for the record, this is the first time we've done it this way.
So, Chief Clerk.
Just behalf of the public defenders, respectfully request the Commissioners approve the cost of training, lodging, and all travel-related fees within the rules of the county's travel policy for an employee to attend the RISE 24 conference on May 22nd through the 25th, 2024 in Anaheim, California. The cost will be approximately $2,800 and will be paid from the public defender's operating budget.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Chief Clerk, respectfully request the Commissioners enter into an IGA and an MOU between Washington County Land Bank, the County of Washington, West Bethlehem Township, and Bethlehem Center School District for the purpose of participating in the county land bank.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Chief Clerk, respectfully request the Commissioners approve and ratify a consulting agreement between the county and Brian Guyton in the amount of $150 per hour plus expenses to provide human resources consulting services as required by the county. The agreement is effective April 1st, 2024 through July 31st of 2024, unless terminated by either party in accordance with the provisions of the agreement. The hours worked will not exceed 12 hours per week.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Chief Clerk, respectfully request the Commissioners terminate the county's contract with MRA, Inc., dated August 24th, 2023, for the installation of the countywide public safety radio system project and authorize the county solicitor to notify MRA of the board's decision. The Commissioners request all drawings, site plans, tower land lease documentation, and the system's final design documentation to be delivered to the county.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
No.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Chief Clerk, respectfully request the Commissioners approve an agreement with Mission Critical Partners, LLC, based on their hourly rate schedule. The total amount will not exceed $200,000 plus expenses. The purpose of the agreement is for consulting support services for the county's public safety department on various projects. This agreement will be for a one-year period from the date of the agreement and is subject to finalization of the agreement by both the county and the solicitor.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
No.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Chief Clerk, respectfully request the Commissioners
Authorize mission-critical partners, the county's Public Safety Advisory Committee, and the Land Mobile Subcommittee to prepare a scope of work and bid specifications in order to complete the Public Safety Radio System project for the county. The project will not be advertised for bid until the 30-day notice of termination to MRA has expired.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
No.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Chief Clerk, respectfully request the Commissioners appoint the law firm of Cozen O'Connor for 1 Oxford Center, 301 Grant Street, 41st floor, Pittsburgh, PA 15219, to serve as special counsel to Washington County for the construction, finance, and bond-related issues concerning the courthouse square offices, garage, and related projects.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Chief Clerk, on behalf of the Redevelopment Authority, as agent for the Washington County Airport, respectfully request the Commissioners approve a consent to assignment agreement between the county and Aero National, Inc. for consent to its assignment of the land lease with AAW Holdings, LLC. All other terms and conditions of the agreement shall remain the same.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Chief Clerk, on behalf of the Tax Assessment Office, respectfully request the Commissioners approve an agreement with Lane to Tourist Esquire to provide solicitor services for the Tax Assessment Office. The agreement will be the same as the previous solicitor's fee agreement, is effective date of agreement, and shall be continuous until terminated by either party.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Planning respectfully request the Commissioners approve a cooperative agreement with the Redevelopment Authority for the LSA grant in the amount of $629,000 for Hall 1 building improvements at the Washington County Fairgrounds.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Planning respectfully request the Commissioners approve the signing for a Chapter 102 general permit application for developmental work at the county fairgrounds. The permit will allow the fair to construct a historic barn on fairgrounds property. As owners of the property, the county commissioners are required to sign the permit application and provide a letter of consent for the work to be completed.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Children and Youth Services respectfully request the Commissioners approve a provider agreement with BCL Partners, LLC, for Leading Youth for Excellence, a residential placement program for the period of March 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2024. The contract authorization amount is $225,000, and no additional county funds are required.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Children and Youth Services respectfully request the Commissioners approve a provider agreement with Donnelly Bolin and Associates to assist transitioning from civil service to merit hire for the period of May 1st, 2024 through April 30th of 2025. The contract authorization amount is $15,000 and no additional county funds are required.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Children and Youth Services respectfully request the Commissioners approve a provider agreement with C.D. Lewis Consulting to provide a comprehensive training program for professional development for the period of April 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2025. The contract authorization amount is $8,000 and no additional county funds are required.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Human Services respectfully request the Commissioners approve a provider agreement addendum with Connect, Inc. to administer the Permanent Supportive Housing Grant for the period of May 1st, 2023 through April 30th of 2024. The contract authorization amount will increase to $826,048 and no county funds are required.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Human Services respectfully request the Commissioners approve a provider agreement addendum with Connect, Inc. to administer the Rapid Rehousing Grant for the period of June 1st, 2023 through June 30th of 2024. The contract authorization amount will be increased to $681,830, and no county funds are required.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing respectfully request the Commissioners authorize the advertising for a risk management consultant.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing on behalf of the Sheriff's Department respectfully request the Commissioners authorize the advertising for narcotics test kits.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing on behalf of Children and Youth Services respectfully request the Commissioners authorize the advertising for non-offending parent treatment.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing on behalf of Parks and Recreation respectfully request the Commissioners authorize the advertising for concrete services at Cross Creek Park, shelters number 5 and number 6.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing on behalf of Planning respectfully request the Commissioners authorize the advertising for the replacement of the Harmon Creek Bridge number 7.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing on behalf of Information Technology respectfully request the Commissioners approve a software agreement with Titan HQ for the purpose of providing Arc Titan Cloud 1000 for all users. Service will include all product features, updates, full support, and deployment assistance. This agreement will be effective, the date of agreement, in the amount of $44,600 for year 1 and $35,100 per year thereafter. Costs will be charged to IT's operating budget.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing on behalf of Information Technology respectfully request the Commissioners approve an antivirus agreement with Capital Area Intermediate Unit 15 for the purpose of providing Sentinel-1 workstation and server licenses, including onboarding and implementation. This agreement will be effective April 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2026, at a prorated cost of $28,597.50 for year 1 and $38,130 per year thereafter. Costs will be charged to IT's operating budget.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing on behalf of Buildings and Grounds respectfully request the Commissioners approve an addendum with Cintas Corporation to include exchanging current courthouse mats with those with the new court logo. The addendum, under the terms and conditions of the original agreement, will be effective the date of agreement through December 31st of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes.
Purchasing on behalf of the coroner respectfully request the Commissioners approve a software agreement with Celebrite Inc. for a forensic workstation. This agreement will be effective April 3rd, 2024 through April 2nd, 2025, at the cost of $23,500 per year and will be charged to the coroner's operating budget.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Maggi?
Yes.
Ms. Janice?
Yes.
Mr. Sherman?
Yes. Thank you. That concludes our new business for this public meeting. Next, we're going to be moving on to public comment. This is for residents who've signed in their wishes to make a general comment. The views and opinions expressed by the speakers during the public comment are exclusively those of the speakers and do not reflect the residents of those of Washington County, the Board of Commissioners, and have not been verified. We got a lot of people who want to speak tonight. Marie Ferguson.
Been using the list? Will we be calling people up from, okay,
And the position you signed up, I think I might have shuffled it at one point, so.
no.
My name is Marie Ferguson. I'm a lifelong resident of Washington County. I'm proud to be so. I want to address the curing of ballots. The meaning of suppression. To prevent something from being seen or expressed or from operating. The duties of elected officials. To serve all constituents, regardless of political affiliation, and demonstrate by actions their commitment to uphold with integrity and truthfulness what is in the best interest of the community and the county they serve. The tactics of political retribution and suppression of the vote for all Americans is despicable and cannot be tolerated for the sake of democracy and fairness. Yet, this is what is so apparent within Washington County, especially in the last few months. Is the omission of a letter or a number or a complete signature on the outside envelope enough to invalidate what is inside, the ballot and the will of the voter? Since constituents on both sides, all sides of the political spectrum, can be affected in a negative way, why can't the procedure of curing be completed by the Elections Office of Washington County, as has been the practice? Enough of political repression. We, your constituents, call on all commissioners to uphold what is important and most important to all, a fair vote. Thank you.
Next is Judy Kramer.
When I heard that the Washington County Board of Commissioners decided to prohibit ballot curing, I was sickened at the thought that my vote, the votes of my children, grandchildren, and the votes of my fellow Washington County citizens could possibly not be counted because of that action, your action. I struggled to find a word to describe this act. Eventually, 4 words came to mind: sabotage, to deliberately destroy or damage or obstruct, especially for political or military advantage. Disfranchise, to deprive people of a privilege or immunity or a right of citizenship, especially the right to vote. Cheat, to deceive by trickery, swindle, to act dishonestly. Sinister, suggesting or threatening evil, presaging trouble. Ominous. If this action is allowed to stand, there is one word, one perfect word to describe that action. That word is evil, pure and simple evil. I implore you to reconsider your position.
Mark Kramer, Supervisor Emeritus, Robinson Township, where most of our elections are decided by less than 10 votes. We, the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of civil and religious liberty, and humbly invoking His guidance, do ordain and establish this Constitution. Article 4, that all power being originally inherent in and consequently derived from the people, therefore all officers of government, whether legislative or executive, are their trustees and servants, and at all times accountable to them. Article 7, that all elections ought to be free. Article 16, that the people have a right to assemble, to consult for their common good, to instruct their representatives, and to apply to the legislature for redress of grievances. by address, petition, or remonstrance. We choose remonstrance. Remonstrance is defined as forcefully reproachful protest. But how forceful do we have to be? Even Arizona allows a voter to cure their ballot up to 5 days after the election. In the 39 counties in Washington state, voters are notified by mail of rejected ballots, have 21 days to cure, and 3 days before certification, county auditors must attempt to contact by phone any voter with outstanding ballots to be cured. I will close with a bit of friendly advice to our newest commissioner, Ms. Janice. I'm sure you recognize the power you wield. You probably are aware that the Roman god of transition and new beginnings had a similar sounding name. Janus is portrayed with two faces, one facing the past and one facing the future. For God's sake, don't take us back to the times when we have to fight even to vote.
Astrid. Can I get the pronunciation?
My name is Astrid Beltisen, and I'm a lifelong resident of Washington County. I'm appalled that 2 Republican county commissioners have voted to stop curing mail-in ballots in our county. You are not just rendering these ballots null and void. You are disenfranchising segments of Washington County's voting population. These are voters who may be older and may have a difficult time making arrangements to go to a polling place. These are voters who are students, who are in college somewhere other than in Washington County and care enough to vote. These are voters who may be medically compromised and cannot make it to a polling place for their safety. We have cured ballots since the inception of mail-in voting to ensure that votes cast are counted. This is not extra work, as the head of the Washington County Republican Party suggested, because it's previously been done this way. Even Greene and Fayette counties cure their ballots. And what makes this worse is that there's no way for a mail-in ballot voter to know if their vote will count. This is an obvious attempt by the Republican Party to reduce the number of Democratic mail-in ballots that count in Washington County. However, this outrageous injustice and disenfranchisement of voters in Washington County must not be allowed to continue. Yes, there are lawsuits on this subject, but they will not help the voters who have used mail-in ballots and want them to count on Tuesday. As a lifelong resident of Washington County, I want you to hear these words and take action to reverse your vote and ensure that mail-in ballot voters have the opportunity to have their ballots cured in Washington County, so we do not disenfranchise any Democratic or any Republican voters.
Thank you. Chris Vanderman.
Give me a moment, I have to limp to the front. Used to go faster when I got older.
Take your time. We have all night.
I'm here to support my Republican representatives, but on the basis of actual knowledge, not emotion. Years ago, because there was a lack of interest in this county in spending a whole day at the polls, I volunteered and I've been judge of elections at different places where there was no one else who would attend. That means I am a mail-in voter. And what's involved with the mail-in voting? 2 things. Sign my name, put the date. So when we talk about curing, we're talking about what? Well, the irony of it is signing my name is not matched to anything in mail-in. But when you come to my precinct, whichever one I happen to be assigned to, I actually have to check your name against the voter registration. And if it doesn't look correct, I can't ask you for ID unless you're a brand new voter, but I can ask you where you live, and I can ask you to verify your name. So mail-in voting has even a lesser standard than voting in person. Getting the date, well, unfortunately, having been around a long time, I have seen the situations where people, yes, I agree, young lady, some people make mistakes, but other people do it on purpose. They're like to aggravate people. So there's two things you have to do: sign, get the date. And our Secretary of State has issued a whole new series of guidelines to re-clarify those two things. And those who have gotten their latest mail-in ballots have seen the differences. Color coding, additional explanations. It's enough. Our election office does a pretty good job, I think. I've been at it a long time now, and I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Steve Renz.
Steve Renz. I'm a Washington County resident for over 20 years. The law as it is written, as Chris just said, requires a signature and a date on the return envelope of the mail-in ballot. That's it. Nothing could be more simple than that. You sign your name, you add the date. If everyone does that, not one single vote would be canceled, not one.
That's a lie.
If you follow the rules, you follow the instructions, it'll count. These laws were written to give us the very smallest amount of assurance that only legitimate legal votes are counted. As citizens, our vote should be our most cherished and protected possession. We must make every effort to guarantee that the voting process is safe and secure. Not only should we follow the laws that we have, but we should demand that demand in more guarantees that our voting process is protected. It is only in our best interest. This only happens when we follow the law. A poll was conducted by Rasmussen just last December, and the facts that this is the results. Over 20% of mail-in voters admitted that they voted in a state that they no longer were resident in. That is illegal. 20% of mail-in voters admitted that they filled out a ballot for a friend or family member illegally. 17% of voters said that they signed a ballot for a friend or family member without their permission. Again, illegal. 19% of mail-in voters said that friends and family members filled out a ballot for them, which is illegal. After examining the raw data from Matt Rasmussen, they just said that 28% of these mail-in recipients admitted themselves to committing at least one of four types of fraud, meaning that more than 1 in 4 votes cast were illegally cast.
Okay, can we argue that point right here?
Excuse me, nobody interrupted your people.
No.
There are
Apologies, the order.
approximately 6
Listen, we have
million voters in PA.
Mr. Renz.
2 million.
Pause his time, please. We give everyone the right to speak. No one interrupted you. I will have civility in this meeting, or I will reset and then re-adjourn. Thank you.
Almost done. There are approximately 6 million voters in Pennsylvania, around 2 million vote by mail. According to the survey, 500,000 of those could have inadvertently or purposefully voted illegally. Every time a fraudulent vote is counted, a legal voter is disenfranchised. Voters are disenfranchised by people breaking the law, not by county commissioners following the law. But if you really want to vote, your vote to be counted, the safest and most secure way to vote is in person on election day. Mass mail-in ballots are the least secure method of voting. That's why most countries have banned them. If you can't physically make it to the polls, if you can physically make it to the polls, everybody should make that effort to do so. If you can't, just sign the envelope and put on the date, and your vote will be counted. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Dave Ball.
Ball. Commissioners, good evening. I rise to commend the decision of Commissioner Sherman and Janice as members of the county board for disallowing the practice of curing. And I'd like to make 4 points. These are 4 points of law. 1, the election code does not provide for ballot curing. In fact, it says in mandatory language, that undated and improperly dated ballots shall, that's a mandatory word, be disqualified. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled in February of 23 that failure to date or to incorrectly date a ballot would render that ballot invalid. That's our Supreme Court said that. They didn't just guess at it, they said that. The Third Circuit Court just ruled 3 weeks ago. A voter who fails to abide by state rules prescribe how to make a vote effective is not denied the right to vote when his ballot is not counted. He's not discriminated against, he's not suppressed. That's a state law, and the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals upheld that. They said he's not being suppressed. Casting a vote, whether by following the directions for using a voting machine or completing a paper ballot, requires compliance with certain rules. States have a legitimate interest in regulating the voting process and imposing restrictions on voters to preserve the integrity and reliability of the election process. This isn't something that the commissioners just made up. This is something that our legislators wrote into the law, and only the legislators can change that. It's been upheld by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. It's been upheld by a federal court. Only they can change it. The legislators can change it, not the commissioners. The Pennsylvania General Assembly has decided that mail-in voters must date the declaration and return the envelope with their ballot to make the vote effective. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania ruled unanimously, held that ballot casting rule is mandatory, not just something that we can do or not do. Thus, failure to comply renders a ballot invalid under Pennsylvania law, and voters' rights have not been violated. You either do it the right way, the courts have upheld that, or your ballot's invalid. The commissioners did exactly what they had to do. They did not have a choice. Thank you.
Melanie Patterson.
Commissioners, my name is Melanie Stringhill Patterson. I am a Washington County taxpayer, and I am a delegate candidate in this year's primary election, running for delegate in the 14th Congressional District. I am a small business owner, and I won't take up much time, but I do want to expand the scope of the inquiry here, because I think we're missing the bigger picture. To borrow and modify a famous quote, to cure or not to cure is not the question. The question is this: wanting to change the rules in the middle of the game? Heck, we're in the bottom of the ninth. The primary is 5 days away. We can't possibly talking about changing how the election works now. It's mind-boggling to think you can. Sports leagues change the rules in the off-season. They know that the integrity of the game is too important to change the rules during the season, or as we see here, during a game, which is the primary election on Tuesday. People want and need to have confidence in elections, but we in Pennsylvania are frankly a joke, and we can thank Act 77 and the mass mail-in ballots for that problem, and I won't go in there, that'll take up my time. We have a very bad reputation in Pennsylvania when it comes to elections, and it has to stop. It's a matter of integrity. Let's discuss curing ballots and all our other ideas for changing elections on November 6th. We'll implement them the next time around, but changing them during an election year is like saying walks will start counting as strikeouts starting in the 5th inning, or moving goalposts, which we have seen our legislators do in Pennsylvania in 2020 to better whichever side. We are headed into the Super Bowl of elections this November, and our goal must be to follow the rules in place and to restore voter confidence and integrity and trust in our elections, because it's the right thing to do. And while we're at it, let's make America great again. Again.
Chris Todd.
Good evening, commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. The right to vote is a cornerstone of our representative democracy that's enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. Allowing the people to elect their representatives in government was a novel concept in 1787, but it did not apply to everyone at that time. Sadly, it took many decades for women and minorities to earn that same right to vote. And as we continue to work towards a more perfect union, there is more work to be done for voting access and equality. In 2019, the Pennsylvania legislature modified the state's election code to allow for no excuse mail-in balloting, joining over 30 other states that offer some form of non-absentee voting by mail. This was a good and appropriate measure that provides the opportunity for increased participation in our democratic process by the electorate. It should be easy for everyone to vote. Last week, 2 of our county commissioners voted to disallow the current practice of providing notice to electors for a minor defect on their mail-in ballot return envelope, which would then afford them the opportunity to cure their ballot so it could be counted. A significant number of mail-in voters are senior citizens. So this decision is a ripe opportunity for seniors to be disenfranchised. Somebody else mentioned about college students as well, or people that can't make it to the polls due to injury or infirmary. Well, of course, we all know the real reason for this decision by the commissioners is that a majority of the mail-in ballots in Washington County come from registered Democratic voters. In the absence of notice to those electors and the inability to cure a defective ballot envelope is nothing more than a brazen attempt to disenfranchise voters in Washington County. Hiding behind a U.S. Third Circuit Court of Appeals decision that had nothing to do with notice and cure is not an acceptable approach for Washington County. Commissioner Sherman and Janice, you were elected to represent all of the people of Washington County. You took an oath of office to defend the Constitution, which includes defending the fundamental right of all people to vote. I respectfully ask you to reconsider your position on the issue of notice and cure, and to once again allow the Washington County Elections Office to notify electors of defects on their mail-in ballot envelope that can then be cured so that their vote can be counted. Your oath compels you to support and defend the people's right to vote. Please act accordingly. Thank you.
Andrew looks like a beauty. Goodley? Andrew? Oh, Dr. Gowdy. My apologies.
All right, my name is Andrew Gowdy, and I am a member of the Washington branch of the NAACP. Our president is David Gatling, and he couldn't be here this evening because of another commitment, so he asked me to come here to state the NAACP's position on the issue of curing. And I'm going to speak about the article that was in April 12th issue of the Observer Reporter. And our position is pretty simple. I think that everybody should have the right to vote. Now, anytime you use mail-in ballots, there's a reason for that. I mean, some people are old. I mean, seniors. I'm fortunate. I'm old, but I can still get out and vote and do what I need to. But some days, people just can't get out and vote. And if they make a mistake, then why take their vote away from them? So anyway, the commissioners wanted to follow the Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals positions stating that if there is a minor mistake on the ballot, then that ballot can't be cured. I mean, you lose your right to vote. Now, the ACLU has already filed a petition for a rehearing of this, and there's a number of other petitioners on this. The Pennsylvania State Conference NAACP is one of the petitioners. I currently am serving as the third vice president of the Pennsylvania State NAACP, so we're going to be in Washington County and elsewhere trying to see what can be done. Washington County is one of a few counties that don't want people curing their votes. I mean, if you make a minor mistake, you're out of luck. Okay, so I personally think that's wrong, and the NAACP's position is this is wrong also. And I'm here on behalf of David Gatling, our president, and the NAACP, to say that we encourage the commissioners to reconsider your position on this, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Jen Phillips. Jen, would you like me to hand you this microphone?
Actually, I can get tall, but thank you.
Okay.
It'll just take me a moment here. Take your time. Just get pulled up here.
Would it be easier if I put it over there for you?
They wanted to be able to see. Yeah, I'm getting taller for you. It just takes me a second. Speed of technology, not very quick apparently, but okay. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, commissioners. My name is Jennifer Phillips, and I come before you today with a deep concern regarding a recent decision that directly affects the fundamental right to vote for many members of our community. The decision to not allow the curing of mail-in ballots is deeply troubling and has significant implications for the integrity of our democratic process. By refusing to allow the curing of mail-in ballots, you are essentially creating a scenario where individuals may unknowingly have their voices silenced. The inability to correct errors or omissions on mail-in ballots means that some votes may go uncounted, leaving citizens feeling voiceless and disenfranchised. This issue disproportionately affects vulnerable members of our community, including those with disabilities and the elderly. These individuals may face unique challenges when completing their ballots, and denying them the opportunity to correct any mistakes only serves to further marginalize them from the democratic process. Furthermore, the lack of accessibility in some voting locations exacerbates this problem, making it even more difficult for certain individuals to exercise their right to vote in person. My location is one such location. As elected representatives, it is your duty to ensure that every voice is heard and every vote counts. By refusing to allow the curing of mail-in ballots, you are failing in this duty and perpetuating a system that systematically disenfranchises certain segments of our population. I urge you to reconsider this decision and take the necessary steps to ensure that all ballots, whether cast by mail or in person, are given the opportunity to be counted. Let us work together to remove barriers to voting and uphold the principles of democracy that are so integral to our society. Thank you for your time and attention.
Michael David.
I just recently became a proud new homeowner in Washington County. In such a short time, I became troubled by a recent decision regarding our electoral process. Specifically, I will address the issue of not curing write-in ballots, a decision that risks disenfranchising many of our fellow community members. This year, I opted for mail-in voting for the first time in my life due to accessibility concerns with the local voting location. It's disheartening to realize that a voting site, the very symbol of a democratic participation, isn't accessible to all members of our community. This isn't just about convenience, it's about ensuring that every voice, regardless of physical ability, is heard in our democratic process. As I look on this county with a fresh set of eyes, I see a community that is aging. There's more residents over 60 than there are residents under 18, with an average age 15% higher than the national average. Prevalence of wheelchair ramps on houses speaks volumes about the challenges that many of our residents face. For those with mobility issues, accessing polling places may not be feasible, making mail-in voting their only option. Now, the decision to not notify voters of minor errors for their ballots disproportionately affects those disabled and elderly. These populations may be at higher risk of making mistakes on their forms due to impairments or other factors. A person with no access to their local voting location cannot verify that their vote has been accepted and cannot cast a provisional ballot as a failsafe. Without the opportunity to correct these errors, they face the real possibility of being disenfranchised. This creates a system where the rights of some are protected more than others, where equal protection under the law is compromised. We cannot allow this injustice to stand. Our democracy is strongest when every voice is heard, when every vote counts. We must ensure that our electoral process is fair, accessible, and inclusive of all residents of Washington County. I urge the commissioners to reconsider this decision and take steps to rectify this disparity. Let's work together to uphold the principles of democracy and ensure that no one is left behind in exercising the fundamental right to vote, and that every election is both fair and free.
Diane DeSalle.
Hi, my name is Diane DeSalle, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Washington County. The key functions of the League regarding election administration is to support policies and systems to facilitate the curing of ballots which have clerical, administrator, or material errors. It is the League's position that every vote should be counted, and if an error has occurred, the voter should have an opportunity to correct their mistakes. It's disheartening that Commissioner Sherman and Janice have voted to not allow the election office to contact voters who have shown their intent to vote but made a mistake on their envelope. On behalf of the League, I respectfully request that Mr. Sherman and Ms. Janice reconsider your position. Washington County has less than 25% of eligible voters casting their votes in either the primary or the general elections. Please do not disenfranchise those who have chosen to vote. I'd like to yield the rest of my time to Carol Ortenza.
I'm Carol Ortenza of Peters Township. I have a few questions for Commissioner Sherman and Janice. First of all, did both or either of you read the 83-page ruling by the U.S. Third Circuit Court of Appeals on handwriting the date on the outer envelope declaration form? I did, and I can tell you that it only addresses whether or not disallowing a mail-in ballot based on the date being absent or entered incorrectly violates a person's right to vote. There is no language whatsoever about notifying the voter of the deficiency or allowing them to cure it. Number two, given this, how did you decide to rule that the elections office will not notify a voter of a deficiency or give them the opportunity to correct it, especially since the elections office already has a very efficient system in place to do this? Number three, did you have advice of legal counsel before making your ruling? If not, I submit you seek such counsel. If you did have legal counsel, I submit that you should get a refund for their service because of ineffective counsel. Additional comments based on some of the points that were made. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals said repeatedly in their ruling that they question why a date needs to be entered on the envelope at all. Their ruling is that this requirement does not violate a person's right to vote according to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. because it deals with how a person votes according to rules set by the Supreme Court, not PA Supreme Court, not who votes. But that was after much parsing of words. It was actually painful to read that 83-page document. But they in no way think requiring a date on the envelope is a reasonable requirement or that it adds any value whatsoever. Read the ruling and you will see that. Thank you.
Donna looks like Roman.
It's me. I apologize for my outburst before. I think you can tell I'm a little bit angry. I'm not like anybody else in this room. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I am a child of a 33-year-old police veteran. I am daughter-in-law of a Navy SEAL. I have 3 brothers who are Marines. I buried my fiance, who fought for democracy on the fields of Afghanistan. And to sit in this room and hear this nonsense about fake voting, fake elections, there is nothing behind it. It has been investigated 17 times by Republicans without any evidence. I had a woman here tell me, North Fayette had 10,000 fake votes put in the thing. No, they didn't, because you know what? If they did, the first thing anybody should have done if you care about democracy is call the FBI, because that's a felony and against the law. And they do prosecute things like that because I also have a cousin who works for the FBI, okay? People care about democracy in this country. We got to turn off Fox and stop this craziness. I actually don't have a problem with you discontinuing a vote if it wasn't signed or dated. But here's my problem. My 86-year-old mother-in-law, who spent her entire life taking care of an injured Navy SEAL and doing everything she could for the United States Navy, has macular degeneration and 4 types of cancer. Her hands shake like this. But according to our esteemed gentleman back there, if I hold the pen for her, I'm going to jail for fraud, even though she has a 150 IQ and can tell me who she wants to vote for. When my husband is out training 4,000 National Air Guardsmen to get ready for deployment, he's got a lot on his mind, I'm sorry. He might have missed it if he calls me and says, honey, check this box, put it in the mail. Again, I should be hung, I guess, for committing fraud. My husband has every right to vote. He has more right to vote than anybody in this room. He literally puts his life on the line every day. My mother-in-law has the right to vote. She can't get to it. She is sick. And you're going to tell her that her vote doesn't matter because you want to play some GOP fake election game that's not real? Can we get back to reality, some science? Let's start taking care of the vets in our county. Let's start taking care of the cops. And let's stop this utter retardation.
Carolee Kessler. Carolee?
Yep. Couldn't hear over the applause.
Oh, somebody left their phone up here?
Yeah, that was up there when I got there.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right. My name is Carolee Kettler. I have lived and voted in Washington County for more than 30 years. I have voted in almost every election over the years, first at the polls, and since mail-in voting became an option as a mail-in voter. As an eligible voter, I have the right to expect my vote will be counted regardless of how I cast my ballot. Yet, given the opportunity to affirm my rights as a mail-in voter, Commissioners Sherman and Janus instead have chosen to deny me the same kinds of administrative protections I would have if I were voting at the polls. To add even more injury to this misguided decision, if an administrative error on my mailing envelope caused my ballot to be rejected, that information would be kept secret from me. As of this moment, I do not know if my ballot that I've already mailed in will be counted in the primary. Neither do the thousands of other Washington County voters who have sent in their mail-in ballots. This is wrong. Current Pennsylvania
Pennsylvania law permits county boards to notify affected voters, and it allows voters to cure mistakes before 8 p.m. on election day. If I lived in Greene or Fayette counties or other counties in Pennsylvania that allow ballot curing, I could rest assured that my vote would be counted. But not here in Washington County because of the choice made by Republicans Sherman and Janus. Since the majority of mail-in voters in Washington County are Democrats, this unnecessary decision sure looks like targeted voter suppression, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
We hear a lot of talk these days about election integrity, but actions speak louder than words. Commissioner Sherman is reportedly concerned about litigation if the county allows ballot curing. Speaking as a taxpayer, let me be clear. I don't want my tax dollars used to defend any actions that disenfranchise voters. If we have to spend money on litigation, let's at least be on the right side of protecting voting rights. You, three commissioners, you are the elections board. You should be bending over backwards to make sure my vote and the votes of others in this county are counted. I can't help wondering, Commissioners Sherman and Janus, if your names are on the ballot, would you be so quick to decide against ballot curing? So, Mr. Sherman and Ms. Janus, change your vote immediately, follow Pennsylvania law, and allow the elections office to return to ballot curing in time for the primary. Thank you.
Ashley Duff.
Timer's turning.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the commissioners for having this meeting in the evening so more members of the public are able to attend. Months ago, when we were attending the daytime meetings, we had requested on multiple occasions that the commissioners have evening meetings, and we thought that all of our pleadings had fallen on deaf ears. So thank you for allowing us to have this. Secondly, I'd like to thank all the members of the public who took their time to be here. I know we're all very busy, but citizen involvement in local government is paramount to a healthy society, and too often we relegate that duty and then complain when we get poor leadership. So thank you to all of you for making your voices heard. I certainly may not agree with all that you're saying, but I'm happy that you came out and said it. Thirdly, I want to voice my support for the commissioner's decision not to cure mail-in ballots. Many counties across Pennsylvania have made the exact same decision and will not be curing ballots. Westmoreland and Indiana are two counties right here in the southwest corner, to name a few. Many counties in Pennsylvania have never cured ballots, so this is something very common. The commissioners are well within their rights, and I believe a majority of their constituents, like myself, fully support that decision. And I believe that they have made the right decision specifically for Washington County. So thank you for your stance on this issue. I do appreciate it. And finally, I'd like to implore any member of the public for future elections, please, if at all possible, go to the poll and vote on election day. Your tax dollars are already paying for a 5-person team of local residents to work all day right there in your own community at your local precinct. I am one of those individuals as a judge of elections. Those individuals are trained to ensure that there will not be any procedural errors on your ballot, so you'll be able to walk out of the poll with confidence knowing that your ballot has been correctly cast. Act 77, which is the legislative mess which allowed for mail-in ballots, has so many twists and turns in it with constant court cases. It doesn't have to be received in time. It does have to be received in time. Drop boxes, no date is fine. It must have a date. Curing is allowed, curing isn't allowed. So just skip the aggravation. If at all possible, please go stop by the poll that is by your home and vote. It's simple and easy like we've been doing for decades. Thank you.
Susan Bentner.
I was pleased to read in your website that you wish every penny coming out of taxpayers' pockets will go toward making their lives better by improving the community and providing vital services, and that you oppose wasteful spending. However, your vote last week is to not allow a simple phone call for the curing of ballots does not reflect your stated ideal on your website. I am sure you realize it will ultimately require significant Washington County taxpayers' dollars to fight any litigation of this vote. And if it is not reversed, a lawsuit surely will come one way or the other. Taxpayers do not want this. All taxpayers want is the right to vote in person or by mail-in, and if an oversight or omission is on the outer envelope, a person should have a chance to come and correct it. Simple. It has worked without problem since the beginning of the mail-in voting. Electra, you say in your website that you believe in transparency, that sunlight is the best disinfectant. You say throw open the curtains and let the people see what elected officials are doing. Electra, throw open the curtains on this mail-in vote last week. How did it come about? Who brought it up initially? Who lobbied you for your vote? Who are the individuals or groups? Let the sun shine in as you say you will do, or is your website just full of campaign lies and false promises? Inquiring minds want to know. Electra, I don't hold out false promises to us citizens in your website. Remember, you work for us. Be a stand-up woman of integrity, not a puppet of the political shadows. The right to have a vote counted is the basis of our democracy. Do not succumb to the wishes of those who want to suppress the vote of either party. Electra, I hope you will vote to reverse last week's decision.
I think it says Stacy Himber.
Okay, my name is Stacy Gabar. It's not pronounced like it's spelled, but I live in Peters Township in Washington County. Whether or not a citizen's vote is counted should not depend upon minutiae, such as whether they dated the envelope correctly. Anyone who is registered to vote and has a legal right to vote also has the right for their vote to be counted. The point of voting is not to fill in a bubble. The point of voting is that your bubble is counted. I suspect everyone here knows that the majority of mail-in ballots come from Democrats, and so I think we all know who this is trying to disenfranchise. I'm proud to live in a country where all votes matter and are counted regardless of race or religion or political beliefs or, that's what it is, race, religion, or political beliefs, and I hope that we can keep it that way. And I wanted to add that our military who are assigned overseas have to vote by mail and send their ballots in. So I hope that we're not counting military ballots because they put the wrong date on the envelope. That seems particularly unpatriotic. So I ask the commissioners. So I ask the commissioners to please reconsider this issue of ballot curing. Thank you.
You'll have to forgive me on this next one. I think it's the Lois Sergeant B 1578 East National Pike.
It's a tough one. It's Lois Bauer Bjornson. It's a long, hard
Okay.
one. I couldn't put it in there. Thank you.
Sure. You have very pretty loopy handwriting too,
Yeah,
then.
sorry.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lois Bauer Bjornson, and I grew up in Washington County, moved away, and came back to raise 4 children. I had something prepared, but as I'm sitting here in the room, what I see constantly that sadly that the state of America is in is complete and total division. I think it's pathetic that whatever party we're in, we're fighting against each other. Voting is a fundamental right. All of the women sitting in here haven't had the right to vote very long. All of the minorities in here haven't had the right to vote very long. So here we are. I'm a poll worker. And I guess this is the question that I have for the commissioners who voted to not, for curing or to not do curing. So when someone comes in and they hand me their mail-in ballot, like I have to spoil it and let them vote. And then if an elderly person comes in and someone has to assist them to vote, like we have to go through this whole process so that they're allowed to be assisted to vote. So then why is that so much different with mail-in? I don't understand that. How is, if you come to the polls, it's okay, but mail-in it isn't? It doesn't make sense to me. These are just what we have to go through. I just went through training for this. They want me to be the judge. And I made sure I had all my questions lined up because I thought I can't do this wrong, because we get the most bizarre questions during the polling for people that are poll workers. I think that it's sad that I'm listening to people heckle other people in the background and saying things about them. Again, further division. I ask you please to reverse your votes. This is a democratic right. This is what we have fought for. This is what people have died for. My brother is a veteran. I have a sister-in-law who lives overseas and still votes by mail from overseas. I have veterans that vote by mail from overseas. I vote by mail or in the office. Now, I also know that when I'm running the election, if someone makes a mistake, they go, I made a mistake. And we go, okay, let's fix this and you can vote again. So why is that not allowed with mail-in voting? Thank you. And lastly, that to me is just a logical reason. And again, we live in a democracy for a reason. Let's still live in a democracy for a reason. Let's hold on to this. Let's stop dividing it and making it go away. Everyone thinks this can't go away. It can go away very easily. Please reconsider your votes and changing them. Thank you.
Well, here we go again. I attended meetings for 2.5 years defending our voting system and election process. Now, with a new chair of commissioners in charge, it appears we will have another go-round. Why do I say this? Well, the audit the vote people wanted to open up our ballot boxes in 2020 and for 2 years later because of the national effort of the big lie being pushed by Trump. Now the street tells me that Commissioner Sherman met with Ashley Duff, a big proponent of the big lie, and Carrie Perrell, too, I hear, about election integrity. How interesting. What's more interesting is that this meeting takes place the week before who? Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, travels to Mar-a-Lago to discuss what? Election integrity. The talk is that Ashley had an agenda and election integrity was listed on it. So what do we have going on in Washington County? Is Commissioner Sherman part of the national playbook? He was elected with the hopes of being impartial and capable of making decisions in the best interest of all citizens of Washington County. Was Commissioner Janice asked to attend the meeting? Was Commissioner Maggi? I wonder what interest our recorder of deeds had in the meeting. The curing of mail-in ballots started in 2020. After placing your ballot in a secrecy envelope, you must place it in an envelope in the outer envelope. The outer envelope is to be signed and dated. Any mail-in ballot received on time in the past had the opportunity to be cured. There have been court rulings concerning the dating of the outer envelope. A final decision is still being questioned, leaving the county elections board making willy-nilly decisions about whether ballots should be counted or not if the outer envelope is missing a date or signature. If a ballot is missing a date or signature, the remedy can be to contact the voter and allow them to correct the mistake by appearing in person at the election office. If that's not possible, the voter is informed that they may go to their voting poll on election day to vote provisionally. My question is, what is the big deal with contacting the voter to tell them their ballot will not be counted if they don't correct the error? Some may not want to go correct the error. Sherman and Janice voted against notifying the voters to even tell them their vote would not be counted. Someone votes, thinks their vote counted, but it was not because of a date or signature error. They will never know because they will not be contacted. So let's assume our commissioners, Sherman and Janice, want votes to count. Why not contact the voter? I wonder if they would have made this decision if it was during their election in 2023. Let them know how you feel. send them an email, call their offices. I find it interesting that Commissioner Sherman feels that he has to acquiesce to someone he found to be outrageous the last go round.
Byron Timmons.
Look, I also would like to thank the commissioners for having the nightly meeting. I work, and so I'm normally not able to attend the meeting. I would also implore them to reconsider their vote. As we have heard from everyone, it's just allowing a voter to reconcile a mistake. It's not changing a vote. It is allowed. It has been allowed, and I think we should continue to allow it. And as someone who works the polls, I'm allowed to help a voter. And so I don't understand if someone mails in a ballot and it has a mistake, why we can't notify them that their mistake was had. And if you don't want them to be allowed to cure it, then the office could notify a voter that they can go vote provisionally. That way they get their vote counted. That's all I'm asking, is that we allow people who can legally vote to have their vote counted. Thank you.
Jeff Rubin.
Thank you for the opportunity to address this issue. For the sake of brevity, and since so many others have stated it so well, I just want to implore the county commissioners in the role as the election board to reconsider their decision to disallow curing. The United States is infamous, Washington County included, for the lack of voter participation. I believe we should be doing more to encourage voters, and curing is a simple way to do that. Thank you very much.
John Volkins. My apologies.
Oh, yeah.
Commissioners, your recent action to direct the County Board of Elections office to throw out ballots with minor clerical flaws is clear partisan voter suppression. As a poll worker, I witnessed voters whose signature didn't exactly match the signature on file, and maybe they didn't use the right middle initial or something according to the file signature. They were allowed to fix that and cast their vote. Ms. Duff here just said that it was her job as an elections judge to help ensure that people were able to cast a valid ballot. So why not have our elections office ensure that people can cast a valid ballot? This past practice of this county, that's the past practice of this county, neighboring counties in the majority of the country, in fact, has been to afford the same level of voter protection for an absentee ballot as a cast ballot by allowing the voter to correct the technical error. Seems like a simple thing to ask. However, at the direction of two individuals on this board, a similar error on an absentee ballot would not be allowed to be corrected or cured to enable a vote to be cast. This unequal treatment of an individual's vote between an in-person vote and an absentee balloting vote is discriminatory and unfair. Furthermore, when a voter makes the effort to be a patriot and go cast a ballot, the elections board should be doing everything in their power to help that process. Instead, you have chosen to change the rules, not only to impede that process, but to keep the fact that the ballot would not count a secret until after the election. This is a definition of election fraud enabled by government bureaucrats. You have been entrusted by the voters of this county to serve our interests, changing local absentee voting rules to discriminate against armed forces members abroad, the elderly, the disabled, poll workers, or just plain busy people is unfair on the face. It surely will be subject to legal challenge for which every resident in this county will have to pay. The argument that we'll be sued for inaction on this subject is bogus. The majority of court cases have already supported fair anti-discrimination voting, which is clearly a factor of discriminatory voting. Correct this injustice. Restore the voting rights of over 60 of your constituents as of the Observer paper, whose votes you've already denied without their knowledge. Act now. Reverse last week's vote and enable curing of Washington ballots.
Good evening. My name is Sean Logue. I'm the chairman of the Washington County Republican Party. I was moved by two of these statements, so I'm going to address those exactly. In a constitutional republic, voting fraud is evil. Voting fraud is also real, and we know it's real because in 2020, the Philadelphia Elections Office and Democrats prevented independent observers from watching the counting of hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots. That's a fact. That happened. And also, let me remind you that Secretary of State Kumar, who oversaw the elections, was forced to resign in disgrace. Again, that is a fact. I would like to thank the commissioners for being brave and following the Third Circuit Court of Appeals decision to the letter of the law. That decision says that these ballots are not to be counted if there are flaws. If you have a problem with that, your problem is not with the commissioners, your problem is with the federal courts and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Also, the idea of curing, there is nothing in Pennsylvania code that says that these things are required to be cured. That does not exist. And this idea that Democrats are to be disproportionately disenfranchised by this ruling, I would argue that all other voters, independents, Republicans, libertarians, whatever else there are, that they would be disenfranchised because the idea of one person, one vote would be violated. The idea that the elections office is going to have to go and track down everybody, the thousands of people that might have had problems, quite frankly, that's ridiculous. And the idea that they have to spend extra time on one voter and not spend that same amount of time on a voter who has done everything correct, again, is ridiculous and disenfranchises people who do things the right way. At the end of the day, the people who are protesting, or I'm sorry, you've been very respectful. I don't want to call it a protest. You've raised your voices. I respect that. But your problem is not with the commissioners. Your problem is with the Pennsylvania legislature, which by the way, is controlled by Democrats. Ask them to pass a law, just like Florida did, that is airtight and has no problems with it. Also, your problem is with the federal courts and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. They've made their rulings. These commissioners followed their rulings. If you have a problem, take it up with them. At the end of the day, again, I want to thank the commissioners for protecting my vote. The idea that one person has one vote is sacred. And thank you so much for being brave and facing this crowd now. Thank you.
Steph Rossi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Rossi. I'm a Washington County resident, and I'm here to give credit to Sherman and Janice for following the Pennsylvania statute that requires signatures and dates on no-excuse mail-in ballots. Abiding by this is just following the law. Unless we have compliance with the law, we don't have a constitution or a country. In my opinion, we should be talking and thinking about this in terms of voter responsibility. I don't think it's unreasonable for voters who want to exercise their sacred right to vote via the no-excuse mail-in ballot route to take on the responsibility of reading the instructions thoroughly to ensure that no signatures are missed and that the dates on the outer envelope are accurate and legible. completing a no excuse mail-in ballot should not be a stressful process. I mean, one would expect there would be little to no chance of making a major omission on a no excuse mail-in ballot, given the instructions and having the leisure of completing it in the comfort of one's own home over an elongated timeline. In addition, there has been plenty of news around pitfalls to avoid. Voters should pay close attention to what is being asked for on the no excuse mail-in ballot. And simply put, given the importance of an individual's vote, which has been so much reiterated here this evening, read it, heed it, follow the directions, and proofread it. Voters should also know the heavily advertised deadlines for submitting no excuse mail-in ballots and should not wait until the last minute to complete them. Any voter who is concerned that they cannot accurately and completely fill out a no excuse mail-in ballot can cast their ballot in person at their local polling place. Otherwise, it's my understanding that an affidavit process is available whereby a voter can get the support of someone else to help them complete their ballot. Thanks.
Mary Mastera. Apologies.
You were closer. You get it right next to me, I guarantee you. I want to talk about two things. One is respect and the other one is trust. And the first one is respect. And I would appreciate it because all the people in here are here to speak to two people. You, Nick Sherman, and you, Electra Janice. We know that. So please pay me attention when I'm speaking to you and the other speakers. I wish I would have gone earlier because I saw a lot of people, a lot of distracted behavior up here, not listening to the speakers. So that's just respect. And the other one is trust. And we trust you as our commissioners. We give you our trust to serve our community. I'm gonna put my glasses on. I did write something. Guiding and supporting us as we thrive and grow as a community. And with our trust comes the responsibility of advocating for our community and protecting the most vulnerable, the elders, and those who otherwise cannot speak for themselves, and submitting their vote via ballot, mail-in ballot. And we trust you to work to ensure Washington County is in alignment with our Pennsylvania state's mission, which is to promote the integrity of the electoral process. And we trust you to uphold the highest standards of ethics and competence. And I've heard a lot of people talking about ethics and integrity. And I just think the actions taken last week have actually driven a whole room of people here to be very upset. And we're talking about clerical errors. Not writing the date correctly, not like an 86-year-old voter that does get her ballot, but she may not be able to remember exactly how her name is on the signature card. And if she were your grandmother who prides herself on voting for every single election, and as a result of your actions may not have her vote count because she forgot that she had her middle initial or her maiden name on the voter's registration card, but no longer uses it, and she's happy to vote, she's happy to submit it. Excuse me. But she may have left something out, and to find out that her dream of having, and her pride and joy of being a voter and having her vote count for as many years as it could have is crushed because of a simple error. I think an error in decision. I think it's not an integral decision to get rid of the curing process. If it's a matter of resources that you did come to this decision, I am an inspector of an election of the poll, and I would happily volunteer being an elected inspector to come down to the office and voluntarily call people and help cure. And I imagine other poll workers might offer the same.
Bruce Bendo.
Hi, and welcome. My name is Bruce Bandale. I'm a 50-year resident of Washington County, and out of concern for my county and for my county government, and not only that, but my children and my grandchildren's future, my great-grandchild. I started attending these meetings about 2.5 years ago, out of many, many, many concerns. And I want to say that I've come to one major conclusion during the course of that time, and that would be that Washington County is ready and ripe for a change in how we make decisions. And I believe the fair, proper way to do that would be, let's do the right thing. It's very simple. It's not hard. Everybody can follow that one rule. As a preface to my remarks, I want to say that one of the hardest things to do in life is to admit that we've been wrong and we made a mistake. But I'm here to tell you, it's okay to make a new decision when you get new information. And that's why I want to give credit to each one of you who have come out tonight. We're all a part of any problems that this county has ever experienced. And it should never be the load of 3 people to carry that kind of weight and heaviness and responsibility. Christ was made to carry that, not man. And so I want to say, let's get back to godliness. Let's get back to the golden rule, not the gold rule. Let's serve God and not mammon. I want to say that we're in error if we listen to or address only one side of an issue before making a decision. And that's why I want to thank you for being here and listening to both sides before you make decisions. And we're a heavy part of helping the commissioners to make right decisions. We're here to hold their feet to the account and to make them accountable. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for coming. I want to say too that I want to applaud. This is my personal conviction, and you cannot deny me this. So listen carefully. We've gone head to toe. We didn't do this, but we were battling in the spirit realm. All 3 of us. In fact, Ashley and I ran for commissioner for the very reason that we're still standing here 2.5 years ago. We want to see the right thing done. We want to see our government back on the shoulders of Almighty God through His Son, Jesus Christ. When you do right and you live right, we'll all be happier and we'll all be more prosperous. And so I want to say to you, Nick Sherman, I applaud you for your decision for not to cure these votes. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. And Electra, I appreciate you standing bold and strong, having courage to fight even our own family sometimes. And I want to say this. What we all want, I hope, is an honest and fair election with integrity and transparency. Is that true?
Yeah.
Thank you. Now I'm going to hit you hard. The real issues are these. Number 1, God first. I'm going to finish 3 remarks. 1-day election, not 7 days. Appears in persons.
Bruce, I need order. Bruce, I need order this meeting. I appreciate your comments, but your time is.
1-day election.
Thank you, Bruce. Trying to maintain order. Fred Bender.
Thank you for the 3 minutes. Electra, I am a no-choice independent type voter. It is the many of us who will decide who will fill your seat in the next election for county commissioner, and we have long memories. I do support election integrity, as you have said in your website. You will work to make certain every vote is counted and every voter is eligible. I take you at your word on that. You say democracy must function, and I agree. However, your vote last week betrays what your ideals are. It was not compatible with your webpage. Voters using mail-ins that need to be cured will not even know that their vote was not counted. A trivial mistake that a phone call could rectify. Is this good government in a well-functioning democracy? I do not support your vote. Electra, you are new to this political game you are playing. Ashley Duff was your competitor in your seat. That is significant. I hope you are not listening to her advice. Think for a minute. Would she like nothing better than to have you voted out of office and replaced by herself? Your vote last week was very, very unpopular. Machiavellian games do get played. Are you being sent on a fool's errand? Are you being set up for a fall? Be aware of that. Ashley was a supporter of such failed quests as a county audit here where Trump had won in 2020. She supported useless studies of Dr. Frank and True the Vote, which this past February, in a lawsuit, admitted it had no evidence of ballot stuffing in the film 2,000 Mules that they had helped produce that was shown here in Washington County to support a potential waste of 3.5 million tax dollars that the Cityans would have had to pay for a virtually worthless audit. Don't let Ashley drag you down if you meet with her. It's my advice. Thank you.
Don Fitch.
My statement's very brief. It won't take me long at all. I'm just going to comment first that I'm a long-time Washington County resident. The only time I didn't live in Washington County was when I was in the military, which I joined during the Vietnam War. So that dates me a little bit, I guess. What I wanted to say this evening is every qualified citizen of Washington County should be supported in casting their vote. Who could possibly be against that? Some people in this room are. They are refusing to cure mail-in ballots with minor errors, though it can and has been done before. People from all political parties will be disenfranchised if no attempt to correct ballots is made. There is no justification for tossing out the votes from valid voters just because you hope more of them will be from people who voted differently than you. There are a lot of well-funded, mainstream, white right-wing media groups falsely claiming voter fraud is a problem, but that is no excuse for people accepting nonsense. I could forgive their behavior if I thought they were confused or slow-minded, but the problem is more about moral compass than mental capacity. Desire to gain advantage at the expense of others is an evil which I pray we shall overcome someday.
Mary Jane Stewart. Mary Jane Stewart.
Hi, I'm Mary Jane Stewart, and I'd just like to say that I voted by mail once when the pandemic, when we had the primary and our voting location was not open to me, and I was really impressed by the process. I was acknowledged all the way along as they received it, on and on and on. So I'm also the judge of elections in Mount Pleasant 3. And as I was dutifully attending class last week, Melanie was explaining to us that the ballots would not be cured. Well, most of the people in the room thought that was extremely cruel. And they really could not understand how could that be if other counties are doing it? What is this law that allows other counties to do it? We're not allowed to do it. So I just want to say, I think some expectations are out there. Someone gave me this email from their mail-in ballot. It says, your ballot has, oh, by the way, as I understand it, these ballots, the people who sent them in, and they're incorrect, will only receive an email saying it was received. They have no idea that their vote is not counting. Okay, so this says, your ballot has been received by Washington County as of April 11th, 2024. If your county election officer office identifies an issue with your ballot envelope that prevents the ballot from being counted, you may receive another notification. Otherwise, you may not receive any further update on the status of your ballot from this email address, and you are no longer permitted to vote at your polling place. Please note, if Washington County observes an issue with your ballot envelope, you may receive another email from this account with additional information to get more information on your ballot status. So there's an expectation out there. And we all make mistakes. Obviously, it's felt that a lot of the mistakes were made by elderly people because some of them crossed out the 20, where they were to put 2024, and put 19 and a date in there. So they were probably putting their birth dates, not understanding. I know these commissioners are very interested in our Washington County senior citizens, so it seems that they would have some sympathy for that. So, the old saying, practice makes perfect, is not correct. Only perfect practice makes perfect. So if you make a mistake, you don't know you made the mistake, you'll probably do it again. So I hope you'll change your mind on curing the ballots. Thank you.
Margaret Jennings. Margaret Jennings.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Margaret Jennings, and I've lived in this county for 54 years, and I don't think I've ever missed an in-person voting opportunity. And I have some prepared remarks that I'm not going to read because I didn't write them. I got them from the League of Women Voters person. I just want to say that it sounds like it's partisan. It sounds like it's the Republicans against the Democrat. I don't know that that's true. I wasn't here when they voted on it. I don't have any explanation. I never heard of curing until yesterday when I saw that Fayette and Green have voted to cure. It sounds like you should change your vote and vote to cure, but you know better than I do because I'm not a commissioner. I didn't get elected. And I hope that you do vote that way, and I hope that you listen to your elected, your constituents. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Fern Seibert, and I'm hoping that my 3 minutes will bring this group together to make Washington County a better place. And for the people that don't know me in this room, I have a group called Clean and Tidy Our County. And for the last 10 years, I have been working diligently to clean up the litter problems on the road. And if we could join together, everybody in this room, and pick up 3 bags of trash, can you imagine how nice the roads would look? How nice your streets and alleys would look? I will be in the back of the room afterwards. I do have a QR code. This Saturday, we're having parks and playground cleanup. And so go to your local parks or playground. We have a group going out to Cross Creek. We have a group at Claysville, at East Family, I think it is, Washington Park, and different township parks, please. And then, because Monday is Earth Day, and what better way to celebrate Earth Day by having a clean park and playground for your children and your grandchildren to play in. Another thing I've been doing is recycling bottle caps. And I need volunteers. Because of the floods recently, we had 2 storage units of clean caps that got flooded. And if they're contaminated, the recycling plant will not take them. So we have 10,000 pounds of bottle caps that need to be washed, dried, and rebagged. because when we went to the storage unit and picked up a bag, water just ran out of it. I'm like, oh, all that work. Anyway, because there's 5 of us that spend 100 hours a month sorting and cleaning these bottle caps, because they have to be clean. Contaminated ones, the benches and the picnic tables will not last as long, and so on. So about that, I want everybody, because we need to be proud of where we live. And if Washington County is going to be on the map for tourism, we can't have a pretty picture and then have trash when somebody drives into the county. So come out with me. Last year, or in 2022, I found more than $400 on our highways picking up litter.
Vern Seibert is an advocate of Clean Washington County, so if you can help her out and sign up, please do so. You can see her groups of people cleaning the highways up on weekends. So she's been an advocate for that for many years. So thank you. And if you can help her out, please do.
I love your shirt.
Thank you, Fern. Really appreciate everything you do for this county. You're awesome. Christina Proctor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, commissioners. My name is Christina Proctor. I am chair of the Washington County Democratic Committee. The Washington County Democratic Committee condemns in no uncertain terms the decision on April 11th by Commissioners Nick Sherman and Electra Janis to suppress votes by refusing to allow any curing of mail-in ballots cast in the upcoming primary election. Sherman and Janis's decision is an unprecedented step to deny Washington County voters their constitutional right to vote. These voters include the county's disabled, those who will be out of town on business or away at college, as well as the elderly who vote by mail at higher rates. In this particular election, 64% of all mail-in ballot and absentee voters are 65 years or older. More specifically, we view this as a blatant attempt to disenfranchise primarily Democratic voters who have embraced mail-in ballot, no excuse mail-in ballot, with nearly 75% of all mail-in ballot absentee ballots in Washington County this election are registered Democrats. We ask that the commissioners reverse this decision immediately and restore the standard ballot curing process that has been in place for years, with the Board of Elections implementing it and having a clear process. I also want to state that it is disingenuous and inaccurate to state that this decision was based on this Third Circuit Court decision. Thank you.
Shane, as a these.
That's Zandy. Everybody screws up.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I never had a graduation that went right.
Hi, so I'm Shane Zandy, and like the vast majority of people here tonight, I was also very disappointed to hear that 2 of our county commissioners recently voted against ballot curing, which is a completely normal, if not mundane process that actually ensures a more accurate vote count instead of a less accurate one. And that sounds a lot like election integrity to me, but we'll come back to that in a moment. But here's my questions for the 2 commissioners who voted against this. What will you say to the Republican voters who will be disenfranchised by your decision? In many cases, these will be people that voted for you in the past. They might be people you know. They might have donated. They could be some of your biggest supporters. What will you say to them? Now, the answer to that question, of course, is nothing, because you have also made the decision not to notify any voters after the fact, once their ballot has been rejected. Denying the opportunity for people to make simple mistakes to cure their ballot is malicious. However, to never tell them that you have taken away their voice, That's not malice, that's cowardice. Anyone who is paying attention can tell what's happening here. This is partisanship rearing its ugly head. I believe that you are okay with disenfranchising X number of Democratic voters and Y number of Republican voters, just as long as X is greater than Y. And it very well could be. But according to the OR, there are almost 4,000 mail-in ballots that have been sent out to registered Republican voters in the upcoming election. To me, a Democrat who believes in voting rights, the acceptable number of those ballots that will be rejected on technicalities and clerical errors is 0. Clearly, as Republican county commissioners, your threshold is higher than that. As commissioners, you have a civic obligation to attend meetings and cast votes. You also have a moral obligation to do right by your constituents. Rejecting their votes over technicalities, mistakes that people of all parties and political persuasions are inevitably going to make, violates this moral obligation. But you have the chance to change course here. You could reverse this proposal and you could restore ballot curing. That is true election integrity. Part of election integrity, which Republicans always say they are concerned with, is ensuring an accurate recording of the votes that will be cast in this county. And I hope you will reconsider your position. 50 seconds left, cool. I want to actually echo the comments of Ms. Carol Ortenzo back there. And Mr. Sherman, you cited the 3rd District Court of Appeals ruling in that matter. And I want you to know that I read that ruling, all 83 pages of it. It says nothing about ballot curing. It simply says that ineligible ballots should not be included in the final certified count. And I would ask you and the Republican Party gentlemen here to please not refer to legal precedent without a full understanding of that precedent. Thank you.
Last and certainly not least, Frank Gambino.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Frank Gambino. Commissioner Janice, we've never met, but maybe after the meeting. Last week, the Republican caucus of the Washington County Commissioners told the Bureau of Elections that it is no longer allowed to cure ballots. This blatant attempt to interfere with our voting rights cannot be left unchallenged. Historically, if you or your granny, your first-time voting child, or next-door neighbor made an insignificant error on their mail-in ballot, the Bureau of Elections would make one attempt to call or email the voter to offer them the opportunity to come to Washington and cure the ballot. That is, fix that minor error. Let's not forget, curing does not occur after Election Day. This is not some special thing we're allowing mail-in voters that folks that vote at the polls get. No. Now, not only is the Republican caucus attempting to eliminate votes, but the caucus also instructed the Bureau of Elections that voters not be notified that their votes have not been counted. We, the people, refuse to have our voting rights trampled in this manner. Then, to add insult to injury, the Republican caucus changed the timing of public comment to the end of the meeting instead of its historic place near the very beginning. This action clearly is designed to deny we, the people, the opportunity to be heard by our elected officials as well as our fellow citizens. We, the people, will not let this action go unanswered at the 180 polling places in Washington County. We had a prior speaker this evening pretend that it's so very easy to prepare a mail-in ballot. Please know that this speaker managed to get himself through law school, so I imagine it would be easy for him. Another wishes to quote polls, but failed to provide anyone here with any proof of anything about what they claimed. Not a date of a poll, not a state, or even a country where the poll may or may not have occurred. Yet another was quick to point out that Pennsylvania law does not require curing. Psst. Pennsylvania law does not deny curing either. Sean Logue, the chairman of the Republican Party and my buddy, is another lawyer and is fully aware that his calling something a fact does not make it so, and he can't be taken a task for it because he only spoke it, he didn't write it. I do respectfully ask that the Republican caucus reverse their decision, if for no other reason to help their own re-election hopes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This concludes our public comment. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming in here. Whether I agree with you or not, this is awesome to have this many people and to see a democracy like this. It is really amazing that we're having this evening meeting and giving you the opportunity to come and talk. I truly thank each and every one of you for coming and taking the time out of your busy schedule and speaking to us. I truly appreciate it. With that, we go to the next.
Chairman, if I could just ask if the election board could reconvene to reconsider this issue of curing the ballot. Solicitor, and he said that we could call an emergency meeting.
Yep.
That's right.
I mean, my vote wouldn't change.
You can reverse this.
I mean, at this time, I don't think my vote would not change. I don't.
We're not voting right now.
So thank you.
I will make a motion that we have a election board meeting, emergency election board meeting before Tuesday. To consider this
Don't be scared.
question.
That's for lack of second. Thank you. Next order of business is our solicitor report, tax refund. Mr. Solicitor.
Chairman, I recommend that the
We don't have.
authorize payment of tax refund in the amount of $24,765.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes. Announcements, Chief Clerk. Gentlemen, we have literally, ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 more minutes of this meeting, then I will adjourn. Thank you. Calling this meeting to order. No, we did not adjourn. We're still in our, that's why we didn't have this. Thank you. Call this meeting back to order. Announcements, Chief Clerk.
Next regularly scheduled board of commissioners meeting will be held at 10 a.m. on Thursday, May 2nd, 2024 in this room. The regularly scheduled salary report for today has been canceled.
Thank you. There will be no more business brought before this board. We stand adjourned. Thank you.